she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. After that came his brother out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them.
Shalom, all praise, honor, and glory is to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much due honors and respect to you brothers also laboring in this work. Continue to push out this gospel in all true faith and sincerity. So, yeah, I just wanted to go into a quick lesson concerning you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, which is Jacob, and the so-called white man, which is Esau, all right? And the fact that that tension between those two nations will never, ever calm down, all right? In fact, it's only going to intensify, and it's going to spill over to these race riots, all right? It's going to be a major race war out here on the soils of America, all right? And why is that? Because these two nations will never be able to coexist with each other, all right? And you have a lot of people amongst our people, all right, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, you Israelites, that don't want to acknowledge the fact that this man is your enemy, being a so-called white man, all right? You don't want to acknowledge that, all right? And one dynamic about this whole back and forth is that the so-called white man, they are aware that you are their enemy, you know? But amongst our people, they're oblivious to the fact that the so-called white man, their enemy, man. And that's a part of the curses, all right? But now we're in the times where the Most High is rousing you up, all right? The Most High is rousing Jacob, and he's forcing you to realize who your enemies are, man, all right? Matter of fact, this is the book of Genesis, chapter 49, in verse 9, Judah is a lion's whelp from the prey. My son, thou art gone up. He stooped down, he croucheth as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up? Right, so that's the state of you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives, all right? You in the state of an old lion that's crouching down, man, with no more fight in them, all right? Because usually lions, once they get a certain age, they lose their fight. All right? And if they the head of the pack, they usually get ousted by a younger lion. So the Lord says, who shall rouse him up? And that's what you see right now, the Lord rousing you Negro, Latinos, and Natives up, man. All right? Because you are comfortable, man. You want to just coexist with the so-called white man. You want to continue to be a slave, work for this man. You don't want to ruffle no feathers, all right? You want this man to continue to rule over you. But that's not the will of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The Lord is looking to raise Israel back up, so he's rousing you up by way of these cop shootings, all right? With this whole Columbus Day thing, you had a lot of Native Americans to get riled up, all right? With Trump and that whole wall fiasco, a lot of Issacharites got roused up, all right? And overall, Judah, all right, who is the so-called Negroes, they getting roused up, man, more and more, all right? So we're in a time where the Lord is going to shake you people up. You're going to come to know who your enemy are, whether you like it or not, all right? This is the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 12, In verse 10, never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness, right? And this is a cut on you so-called Baptist church, Christian churches, and that bugged out wayward doctrine that you into, all right? You put that vibration on the people of your congregation as if the Lord set it up where everything is supposed to be peaceable, all right? Like everybody is to hold hands, like this Martin Luther King, that coon, all right? He said he had a dream that little white boys and little white girls would hold hands. Well, that's not scriptural, all right? That's a heresy, all right? So the scriptures say never trust thine enemy. So this is the Bible actually highlighting the fact that we got enemies, man. And it don't take the Bible to even tell you that. All you got to do is just go do a brief look into history, man, and see how the so-called white man dealt with you. All right? Verse 11, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. Right? And that's how the so-called white man gets you. He come crouching and humbling himself. Just ask the Native Americans, man. All right? Christopher Columbus and those devils came over here and they overthrew the natives because they came crouching as if they was humble, all right? Which the Native Americans is a part of the nation of Israel, the tribes of Gad and Reuben, all right? And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hast wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his rust has not been altogether wiped away, right? So when you take a look into this man's past, all right, and then you measure it with how he operate today, you will notice, look, this man is still the same old devil, all right? He might have polished up his game, and is more of a modern approach, yet this man is the devil, and he's your enemy, all right? And for all you people out there that, especially amongst our people, and that's who I'm talking to, amongst you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, if you don't want to acknowledge that, all right, and you feel that there's some way that you can hash everything out with the so-called white man, let bygones be bygones, well, that's impossible, all right? Why? Because you and the white man is natural born enemies, man, all right? You are enemies from the womb. And I'm going to close out with that, which in a pre-production, I showed you the scripture in the pre-production, but I want to go into it and read it, all right? This is Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, right? And who are those 2 nations? The Israelites and the Edomites, which in the modern day terminology would be you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and natives, which are the Israelites, and the so-called white man, which is the Edomites. Those are the 2 nations. These are the 2 forefathers of those 2 nations. And they was in the womb struggling, all right? And 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, right? So they was fraternal twins, 2 different spirits on them. There was 2 different nations that came out of the bowel of Rachel, all right? And you see that to this very day. These 2 nations are nothing alike. It's no business for these 2 nations to coexist. They enemies. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Right, and who was the elder? The so-called white man. He came out first, but he's going to serve the younger. That prophecy is about to be fulfilled, all right? Which it already was fulfilled, because we had Esau in captivity, and Esau broke that yoke from off of their neck, all right? You find that in Genesis, the 27th chapter. But yet we're going to corral him again, and we're gonna take that old serpent, the devil, and we're going to put him back in chains again, all right? Because this is the blessing that was given to Jacob, that we're going to have Esau for a possession, man. So Esau know this, the so-called white man, in their spirit, they know this. Even if they don't know the ins and outs of it, they know in their spirit that they got a hatred for you, man. And it all goes back to this moment, all right? So there's nothing you could do to curb that hatred that the so-called white man have for you and that hatred you should have for his ass, all right? Why? Because you're natural born enemies.